strengthens your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts local businesses in the spotlight.
First Bank of Sea Isle City, Cape County's community bank.
Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ilovelylback.com.
Egg Harbor Independent Branch Leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. Visit fillingmarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today online at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media South Jersey.
A Town Square Media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got 'em!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Power Hour edition of Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, we are live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Yankees, Nationals, 1 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to there, we got to talk some Eagles. We got to talk some Sixers. We got to talk some Flyers. We'll talk some NFL draft aftermath as well. Sportsnet's Andy McNamara, friend of the show, will join us coming up at 12:20 p.m. Of course, Andy was gracious enough to hang out with us for the first 12 picks of the NFL draft for the live stream about a week ago. So he'll be rejoining us coming up at 12:20 to talk some aftermath, what is next for the teams from the NFL draft. Of course, you can comment on the show. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. On the stream below on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, just follow 973 ESPN. Also, if you're listening on the radio on 973 ESPN FM or on the 973 ESPN mobile app, text board is open for you at 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. 609-403-0973. So before I get to my thoughts on the other Philly teams that are actually playing right now, I got to start with the Eagles for a moment because, yesterday to me, as I mentioned on game night last night, only reinforces the fact that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are very, very serious about this whole we want competition thing. Because when you think about what they did in bringing in Kerryon Johnson, the running back from the Lions, they're now going to walk in the training camp potentially with 8 running backs. And one of them is not Corey Clement, by the way. You're talking about a group of players who they're literally going in the camp and saying, may the best man win. Because we know that Miles Sanders is the number 1 running back. But the question is, who should be number 2? Now, Kerryon Johnson, when he's healthy, has been very productive, very good player when he's healthy. His first 2 seasons in the NFL, he only played 18 games out of a potential 32. He's had some injury issues. You have Jordan Howard in the backfield. Runs like a bowling ball, but it's got some limitations in terms of the passing game. You drafted Kenneth Gainwell from Memphis, a guy who can run the ball, who can catch the ball. In my opinion, he's a perfect complement to Miles Sanders. Because him and Miles Sanders both create that triple threat that you want from your running back position. You still have Boston Scott on the roster, a guy who is a more diminutive player compared to Gainwell and Sanders. He's a guy who I think has a chance to make the team if he's a special teams guy in terms of kick and punt returns. But I think that if Gainwell proves himself to be what we think he is, Boston Scott might be out of a job altogether. And then you look at the other guys, they're mostly futures contracts. Your Adrian Killens, your Jason Huntley, your Elijah Holyfield, who I would love to know what it is about Elijah Holyfield that this team keeps him around so much. I'm not trying to be mean to the guy. Listen, I don't hate the guy or anything. I think Elijah Holyfield might be a nice player, but man, for a guy who just doesn't seem to ever get any playing time on the field, he just keeps hanging around and hanging around and hanging around this roster. So, I would surmise right now that the competition is going to come down to Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, and Kerryon Johnson for one of the running back slots because of the fact that the Eagles are only going to keep 4 running backs if one of those guys is a special teams guy. And Jordan Howard doesn't play special teams. So he's playing for a roster spot going in the camp. When I look at Kerryon Johnson, he is also a guy who is a 3-down running back. He led the Lions in rushing for his first 2 seasons. He's a guy who can catch the ball in the backfield. And I think there's a possibility that if he's healthy, he could definitely make the team. But the question is if he's healthy. Now, people would say the same thing about Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has been nicked up and has some nagging injuries his first 2 years in the NFL, to which I would say most running backs have nagging injuries. I'm less worried about nagging injuries than I'm worried about ripped up knees like Kerryon Johnson has. There's a little bit of a difference. But either way, I'm going to say that the Eagles, as I wrote over at 973ESPN.com, they're probably looking at Kerryon Johnson as a guy who can be basically competition for Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Jordan Howard, and they'll kind of let the pieces fall where they may. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the Eagles running back situation. Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Sixers game last night was really, really hard to watch. Okay. The Sixers game last night, I mean, they didn't have Zion Williamson. They didn't have Brandon Ingram. They didn't have Steven Adams. The Pelicans looked like they were a better basketball team without 3 of their starters. And now I'm supposed to believe that the Pelicans, first of all, are just pathetic. I mean, they almost won a game without their starters and their superstars. So they're pathetic. So we can just dismiss them out of hand, right? Can they just be eliminated from the playoffs already? I mean, this whole thing with Zion and Brandon Ingram, they're so overrated. It's ridiculous. But the Sixers seem to have these issues when it comes to turnovers. And I'm not going to blame it all on Ben Simmons because the turnovers were not all because of him. But what I will say is this team still has some things to figure out. And part of it is efficiency on all the offensive end. The Pelicans last night had 12 steals and the Sixers had 17 total turnovers. I'm telling you right now, folks, the Sixers need to work out these kinks. And they have a few games left to do it. And they have an opportunity to really clean things up for the postseason in a way that the Nets, for example, can't. James Harden is still not back on the court. So while the Sixers are working out the bad bugs of their play, the Nets can't even do that because their stars are not all back on the court. And I have serious concerns about the Nets' viability in the postseason. I have some concerns about the Sixers because of the turnover issues, which I thought were supposed to be fixed from Brett Brown to Doc Rivers. Apparently, they haven't been fixed. They've just been reshuffled. I think part of the reason why Sixers have turnover issues is because they get away from their strengths. They get away from what they do best, which is moving the basketball, working the ball inside, outside with Joel Embiid. I think that there are ways Sixers can play better, but last night was really tough to watch. They are very, very fortunate to win that game after playing so horribly for about 2 quarters of play. When I'm thinking about the 76ers, I think of a team that they've won games because of their style of play and because they go inside outside with their play. And I think that if they get away from that, they will not even make the Eastern Conference Finals. The Sixers need to clean things up. And I understand that it's the regular season and it's a long haul and it's a tough year and they're going to have an entire week to rest up and clean things up. But they got to get the job done. They have a magic number of 3 right now. They win 3 more games, they will lock up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They got to clean things up enough to win that. And it starts tonight versus the Detroit Pistons. You can hear the game at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Flyers, nice win last night. Doesn't really matter in the standings, but it's nice to see Wayne Allison get a goal. It was nice to see Cam York on the ice. I think the Flyers have a future. They have promise, but they're out of the playoffs. They have a final home game on Monday, and it's an embarrassment that Shane Gostisbehere is suspended, but that's because the NHL is a bunch of idiots. So either way, the Flyers get a couple more games. And I love watching Wade Allison play. I like his energy. I like what he brings to the ice. I think you have some hope for next season for the Flyers. I think that's a cool thing to have. So you have the Sixers on this long winning streak, the Phillies on a winning streak. It's fun to see. And of course, all 3 Philly teams won on the same night for the second time in 2021. So I guess we just had to get away from 2020 for our teams to have any sort of success in the regular season. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. Andy McNamara will join us coming up at 12:20 p.m. Talk more about the Eagles and the NFL. Text board is open for those of you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM. 609-403-0973. Also for a 97.3 ESPN mobile app. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can comment on the show as well as you watch the show. Hello to everybody in virtual land. We are live here in the Matt Blatt Kia studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Before we get to the text, I want to get to a comment over here on Twitter. The Real Sea Wagon says, I like the Kerryon Johnson pickup. I don't hate it. I certainly think it's a good pickup because, you want to, not have opportunities, right? You don't want to, miss out on opportunities that they presented yourself to you. I would prefer them to find a way to maybe get a cornerback in here, honestly. But hey, you can't win them all, right? So, it's one of those deals where when I look at the Kerryon Johnson pickup, I think it could definitely pay dividends. There's nothing wrong with taking a shot on a guy who still has talent. The guy was picked in the second round for a reason. I think that Kerryon Johnson, if he can be healthy and show you what he has shown in the past, he can definitely make this team. But I think it would be at the. I think there would be 2 issues to consider with Kerryon Johnson. Number one, his skill set is very similar to Kenneth Gainwell, the guy you just drafted. So you would have 2 very similar players on your roster. And the second thing is, if he makes the team, Boston Scott probably is not making the team. So I kind of have to wonder when it comes to the Eagles, are they really doing it this way because they're trying to figure out, if Gainwell, if Boston Scott are really part of their future plans? Remember, a lot of these guys who are on this team, they got opportunities before Nick Sirianni got here. Nick Sirianni is trying to figure things out right now. So I think it has to go into it as well. I think Sirianni's trying to force guys to have to prove themselves to him, and that's why Johnson's here as well. All right, I think a couple texts where we hit the break. 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. Nick from Brigantine says, Josh, you notice that there's only 3 bad teams with a bad record in Major League Baseball. Why do you think it's so level? I think it's so level, Nick, is because of the pitching. I think that aside from the 4 no-hitters now and Zach Wheeler's shutout and Madison Bumgarner's gem a couple weeks ago, I think that baseball right now has a lot of good pitching. You look around baseball, every team seems to have at least one or two guys who can get through about 5 innings and not allow more than a run or two at a time. I think that's a big reason why there seems to be parity right now in baseball. It's not going to last because, as teams get more film on these pitchers, they're going to figure them out. Even the Orioles at 15-17 are a fun team to watch. They're not a bad team at all. Really the bad teams you mentioned, Nick from Brigantine, are the Tigers. They have 10 wins yet. I think they're 9-23, 9-24. I mean, they're really bad. The Twins, they are just struggling to score at times. There's a lot of talk they might trade Nelson Cruz, actually. They may just unload him and move him to a contender and just go through a full rebuild this year. And the other really bad team you would probably say is the Rockies and the Pirates. The Pirates are weird because some games they look like a good team. Other games teams look really bad. The Rockies, I don't understand that team at all. I mean, are they trying to rebuild? Or are they? I don't know what the Rockies are doing. Pirates, they're in a perpetual rebuild. Rockies, I don't know what they're doing. But to me, Nick, it comes down to the pitching. Get one more text at 609-403-0973. Doc from Dover says the Sixers are the ultimate tease. Don't be fooled. Well, if the Sixers are the ultimate tease, what on earth are the Nets? If the Sixers are the tease, where are the Nets? A complete Fugazi? I mean, come on. Listen, if I'm not going to be fooled by the Sixers, I'm not being fooled by the Nets. And that means the Bucks are going to the NBA Finals. All right, we're going to get back to the football next. Andy McNamara from Sportsnet will join us to talk more Eagles NFL draft right here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook picks for the day a little bit later in the show before we wrap up. Obviously, the 3-team parlay did not hit last night because the Sixers could not cover the 11.5-point spread because of their 17 total turnovers. But that's why you get the same game parlay insurance thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook. Of course, the other part of the parlay that we had last night had to do with Tobias Harris. I tried to go through a statistical history of him and do a little projection. Well, Tobias didn't have a good game on the boards last night, so we won't win the parlay out of the way, but that's why you get same game parlay insurance. All right. Josh Hennig here, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's Seth for three, and that's good. Curry is 6 for 6 from three.
The Sixers host the Detroit Pistons. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Swing in to Matt Blatt Kia and put 0 down. A hit with 0% APR financing. That's deep for 75 months. A home run. Don't get fooled by a bad pitch. Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township needs your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. So get out of that old car you hate and get the credit you deserve with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on every new 2021 Kia Sportage in stock, or get a $2,500 consumer rebate only at Matt Blatt Kia. We want to get you approved today, and you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Come in today or visit us online because
it's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on $1,333 per $1,000 borrowed. Negative equity refinance into new loan. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Yes, that's right. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, hanging out with you. We got Yankees versus Nationals at the top of the hour. You can keep text coming at 609-403-0973. For anybody who cares, the FCS College Football Championship semifinals are on ESPN television. You know, I usually pay attention to FCS, but I feel like this whole thing where they were like, we're not going to play a season of fall, we're going to have it in the spring, it just means it feels like a gimmick. No offense to them, but it feels like they're trying to fill the void of no XFL, no AAF. They're trying that idea and seeing how it works. I mean, ESPN loves it because they got great live content, but I think in terms of just general principle, FCS, stick to the fall. Just a suggestion. All right. Speaking of the fall, the NFL 2021 season is just a couple months away. We have OTAs coming up. We got mini camps. The NFL draft was last week. And joining us now on the Boardwalk kind of hotline, the one and only Andy McNamara from Sportsnet. He was with us for the first 12 picks of the NFL draft the other night. And now he's back with us to recap the draft and what is next for these teams. And he's sporting his Browns shirt. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, what is it? Browns against all odds.
Browns against the world, baby. Browns against the world. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, man.
Browns against the world. All right.
Yes, that's what it feels like sometimes. Josh, it seemed like just yesterday we were on doing the live draft coverage. Which, by the way, thank you so much for having me on. We love the interaction with the listeners, the viewers, and all that. That was so much fun. And we had so much like breaking news. I was only supposed to stay until 10. We kept going 2 more picks.
I know. You hung around a little longer.
Oh, it was amazing. We had all the Aaron Rodgers drama going on potentially, and then that stopped. And boy, that was a fun night.
It was a fun night. But now that the dust is settled, we have things to touch on. So first of all, I was just talking about the Eagles. I want to get to them first. So they just signed Kerryon Johnson. And I think it's very interesting because it seems like Sirianni's taking seriously this whole, we're going to have competition. Now you got Kenneth Gainwell, who I think was a great draft pick.
I liked him.
Okay, Kerryon Johnson, who's a similar player, by the way, but has an injury history. Then you also have Jordan Howard here, Boston Scott, who's a smaller version of Kenneth Gainwell. It seems like the Eagles are really taking this running back situation seriously, which I find very intriguing because if you remember Sirianni in Indianapolis, they basically ran through 3-4 running backs at a time. And then over with the Chargers, they had 2 running backs at a time, whether it was Melvin Ingram or Woodhead or Eckler. So I think it's fair to say the Eagles plan on using multiple running backs this year.
Absolutely. And what that does if we look at it from a fantasy football side of things for a second, Josh, it sucks. Again, we're losing another RB1, right? We're losing it just like with Jacksonville, who drafted Travis Etienne. Love the player Etienne, but now you have Robinson. Oh, and there's Carlos Hyde. And then, and so now we're just looking at another committee. But even though with the Gainwell draft and Kerryon Johnson, I still, at least to start the year, I still sort of feel that's going to be Sanders' backfield to begin, and then they'll start to go. Like Kerryon Johnson doesn't scare me as much as he did, let's say, last year when the Lions drafted DeAndre Swift, and then that was just botched and just a total committee situation. So I'm not as scared there, but certainly, yeah, it looks like it's going to be for real life football. Who's got the hot hand, mix and match, keep people fresh, which I understand, but fantasy-wise, that's just another guy off the board. It's no good.
Yeah, definitely for fantasy-wise, but it's very interesting for real football-wise also because of the fact that, Sirianni seems to be pretty serious about this competition thing. I mean, they drafted multiple defensive linemen in the draft. They're bringing in all these guys. The reports are that the guy that they drafted as a UFA, an undrafted free agent, is Jamie Carroll, the controversial quarterback who was supposed to go to Georgia. Then he opted out of the season. He said it was because of his kid's health, but then it was convenient. He did it right after he found out he had to compete for the job with JT Daniels, but I digress. So, it seems like the Eagles, they are one of these teams that is really walking in, aside from the quarterback position, saying, hey, almost every job is up for grabs. And, that kind of competition might breed a better football product for the Eagles on the field.
I think what that does is it says to the Eagles, the players, and really to the fan base as well, no one's being handed anything. This is not the attitude, which for a new regime coming in, you want. You want to say, hey, I don't care what you did or didn't do in the past. We're here now. You're going to have to prove to us you can or cannot do the job. I think that offers a complete level of fairness in principle to everybody there, and it should bring out the very best and give Philly the best chance to field the best football team they can this year. So I really like that standpoint when it's okay, you're going to be accountable and you're going to have to earn it. That seems like Philly football to me, man. And I think for that division that is still, despite changes here and there, still pretty wide open. This is going to be a very interesting year, and I like that mindset from the coaching staff.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday at AndyMC81 on Twitter, Sportsnet NFL analyst, as well as fantasy sports expert, joining us here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, of the teams in the NFC East, whose draft did you like the most? Who was the team that you walked away from saying, you know what, I like them the best? Doesn't have to be the Eagles, by the way.
It doesn't.
I'll admit it. I thought the Cowboys overall did a good job. I thought Washington had some interesting picks, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Giants did well for themselves. To me, if you had to push me, I would say it was the Eagles or the Cowboys with the best draft.
I would say the Cowboys. I like the Giants, later picks. The first round pick, I think, was a botch with Kadarius Toney. You have the uncreative, you have the uncreative Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator. This guy's a gimmick wide receiver right now. He's a one-year starter. He's a converted quarterback, has some baggage with him. You needed him to go to a place with an offensive mind creativity-wise, like a San Francisco or a KC or a Green Bay, something like that. So that pick sucked. Now, getting Ojulari in the second round, I had a first-round grade on him. I think that was a heck of a pick. Yep. But when we look at who the biggest winner was, I would put it Cowboys first, then the Eagles, because I just think where they got Micah Parsons is just such a great value and immediate impact guy. And it looks like they're really trying to shore up that front seven. So where the cornerbacks are still probably a little bit weaker than you'd want, you can go long, you can go horizontal, you can try to break down that coverage and force those quicker passes from quarterbacks. I love that Parsons pick. So I'll give the Cowboys a slight edge there over. It's certainly the Giants. I just really didn't like, Josh, that first round pick with Tony. I feel that's a waste. You got Kenny Galladay. Like, shore up that O-line or get a DN, something like that. That's what I would have liked better for them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with the Cowboys is I thought the pick, they found value with their picks, overall.
Yes.
Their picks all had value. They weren't just, like I felt like the Washington, they reached a couple guys. The Giants, they reached a couple guys. But I felt the Cowboys said, we know what we need. We're just going to go get it. And they did. And you know what? They needed defense. They took it seriously.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't really address the offensive line needs, which is still a concern to me. And, poor Dak Prescott coming off of an injury with a $160 million contract. Now, they didn't improve much on the offensive line, but you know what? Maybe the defense holds up. They can run the ball a little bit more. So,
yeah, I think for Dallas, that O-line, not addressing that earlier in the draft or in free agency is concerning. But
curious.
Yeah, and curious. Yes. Also, what does that mean for Ezekiel Elliott? This has got to be a bounce back year for him. Right, where he looked banged up a lot of last year, and just the whole Dak Prescott thing just threw the whole season off. Right. So what does that mean on the offensive line compared to the additions that they made that we just talked about on defense? You have the weaponry, the bodies are there. That offense can go. Is the O-line going to be good enough? That's what we're going to have to wait and see. But I think when we look at this division overall, and for the Eagles, by the way, I like that Devonta Smith pickup for them. We talked about it on the draft show, Josh, where I don't necessarily like his frame, how thin he is. I think that durability issue is real, and I think that is a concern. But you're getting the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. I think you're going to have enough creativity from the wide receiver IQ on that coaching staff now to be able to put him in the position to succeed. And you give Jalen Hurts a weapon with Travis Fulgham coming back, with Dallas Goedert, with the additions at running back. So I think the Eagles offense, when we see this thing start to get going in camp, I think they're going to be more of an underrated offense. People maybe not paying as much attention as they should because of those additions and because Jalen Hurts is going to come into this knowing, assuming Flacco doesn't beat him out, knowing that he's going to be the guy.
Flacco's not beating him
Please
out.
don't boo Flacco. Like,
Don't feed that garbage.
I don't want it
to the simple-minded out there. Listen, there are people because I don't know if you know this, but Joe Flacco's from South Jersey. So
right. He went to Delaware, right?
Yeah, he started at Pittsburgh. Make a long story short, he was a top prospect. He went to Pittsburgh. It didn't work out for him. He had to go to Delaware. It got to revitalize his NFL prospect situation. Then he got drafted in the first round. But he's from our area, so there are people who are like, Joe Flacco's going to start as an Eagle.
Ooh.
Like, oh, stop. Howie Roseman already came out and said, they want Jalen Hurts to run with this job. So
give him a chance. Give him a chance to prove it. Like Tua in Miami. Give them the tools, the opportunity. Give them the chance to prove they can or cannot do it. Now,
really
perfect
quick.
world.
Really quick. Is Jalen Hurts on your radar for fantasy football perspective?
Absolutely. I loved, and we talked about it last year coming into the draft, how I thought Jalen Hurts as a prospect before he was drafted was super underrated. His arm talent underrated. And don't give me these stats of his completion percentage. Look at the games. Look at the situations he was in. Jalen Hurts has underrated arm talent. And then when the Eagles drafted him, I said, I was so high on him. If he got in, and I said this on your show multiple times, Josh, I said, if he gets in, Carson Wentz might not get his job back. And for a variety of reasons, that happened. I am super high on Jalen Hurts. And I think for fantasy football purposes, now, is he going to be a top 5 guy? No, but with his mobility, I think you could talk me into thinking maybe a 10 to 12 range with the legs. That wouldn't surprise me.
Now, sticking with the quarterbacks, I know that you wrote on Sportsnet that Trevor Lawrence would be your guy, the rookie quarterbacks for fantasy that you would lock in, especially for dynasty leagues. But outside of fantasy, which quarterback do you think of the quarterbacks who were drafted landed in the best situation?
Now, that's a good question. I think it's a tie. I think it's a tie for the quarterbacks. I think Trey Lance landed in a phenomenal spot with the 49ers because we know what Kyle Shanahan does with quarterbacks. He plays to the strength. Lance ran that type of pro-style offense under center, play action, roll out. The guy ran in 18 touchdowns, but he's also got a heck of an arm. He fits in well. Super raw, though. 318 total passes in all of college. He's going to take some time. But as to be able to be tutored, Kyle Shanahan, that's a great spot. I don't want him starting necessarily this year if possible, but that I want him to have the Patrick Mahomes glove on. Have him learn, have him sit, have him get comfortable. The other guy I think is Mac Jones. And Josh, that is the only spot in New England that I would even entertain that it would make sense as a first-round pick. Otherwise, he's Andy Dalton, he's Derek Carr. But in that Belichick offense, that Mac Jones skill set, mindset, quick release, high completion percentage, set a college football record last year, that is a great landing spot. I think he's somebody that is going to add, and I'm talking real life here, but now to fantasy, I think he's going to add more value to the players around him fantasy-wise than himself as a fantasy quarterback.
It's definitely going to be interesting because, if Cam Newton actually plays the way he did before he got COVID last year, this year, Mac Jones might have to be sitting around for a while because, when Cam was on last year before he got COVID, he was looking pretty solid as a quarterback, and they were winning some games. Mm-hmm. They should have won that Seahawks game, but things happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. What is the Cam Newton factor? Now, you invested a first-round pick in Mac Jones. Best case scenario, I think, for almost any rookie quarterback is to not rush them in, to have them. I think Mac Jones out of this draft class, though, is the most NFL ready. I believe he has the lowest ceiling of any of the starters, any of the QBs taken in that first round, but maybe the highest floor. Right. So I think if you need a guy, if Cam Newton comes in and he's shot putting the ball again and he's into the dirt and he's, or after game 1 or 2 gets banged up, which is likely, I feel you can be more confident putting Mac Jones in than any other quarterback not named Trevor Lawrence.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday at AndyMC81 on Twitter, here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the NFL draft was last week. We are moving forward with the NFL offseason. The NFL never sleeps. Apparently, the Eagles made sure we knew that yesterday by dropping news at 4 o'clock in the afternoon randomly because, that's what the Eagles decide to do. The one draft pick that I think is not getting enough attention of the first-round picks to me, there's 2 of them. I'm going to start with the offensive side of the ball. I think Najee Harris going to the Steelers is massive. Because to me, that sounds like the Steelers are putting their hand up and saying, we are going to get back to running the football. We asked Ben to do too much last year. He can't be – the dude's getting old, man. I'm sorry. I don't care what you think of him. You can't have him throwing the ball 48 times a game. That's ridiculous.
No, it's so true. I still have – Josh, if ever I feel a little down, I just pull up the gif of Ben Roethlisberger crying on the bench when the Browns beat his ass to eliminate him from the playoffs. So that's just a nice little, that gives me the warm feelings inside. But when you look at what that Pittsburgh offense had to do last year, you're absolutely right. They had no running game, very uncharacteristic. James Conner's gone. So Najee Harris, he has similar patience, not to the same extreme, but similar patience behind the line and ability to, with vision and to find the hole like Le'Veon Bell did in his prime. He can be a power guy. Maybe not the home run hitter type like a Travis Etienne, but he's more sure-handed with the football. So I love it. My question for the Steelers is, did you do enough on that offensive line? We talked about Dallas. That offensive line couldn't do a whole lot. And if you cannot establish the run, then Roethlisberger, who is really limited and becoming so uncharacteristic, a dink and dunk guy because the offensive line was breaking down around him and the running game wasn't existed, so it became very one-dimensional. If the O-line can step up, I think it's good. If not, we might see, I still think a good rookie year from Najee Harris, but maybe more just on his pure force and talent than if you have a good offensive line.
I hear you, man. The other pick I like a lot, and I only like it because of the team he went to. And I'm not saying he would have been a bad player if he went to other teams, but I think that the team he went to, they are going to find a way to maximize him. Kwity Paye going to the Colts.
Yes.
I think that the Colts, the big thing they missed last year was a legitimate pass rush. They were a solid defense, but they never had that guy off the edge that you were afraid of. Now they get that weapon. It's kind of like when they had Dwight Freeney and Mathis and all those guys back in the day. I'm not saying he's going to be a borderline Hall of Famer. I'm not promising you that, but I think he's got the talent and the work ethic to make an impact day one for the Colts defense.
Well, that Colts defense, you said it, was very solid last year, very good. Linebacker was strong, but you're right, not off the edge. The interior was fine. The secondary was good. So when you add a Kwity Paye, who, by the way, in this year, there was no Chase Young, Myles Garrett type. There was none of that type of pass rusher where it was like, oh, yeah, that guy for sure. So I think with most of these pass rushers, what we're going to be looking at is probably trying to start them in at a rotation. Is Kwity Paye going to be a dominant 15-sack guy as a rookie? I don't think so, but I also don't think he needs to be. You need, even if you don't get the sack numbers, you need to be a disruptor off the edge. You need to be able to hurry the quarterback. You need to be able to smack the quarterback. You need to be able to set the edge to help stop the run. I think Kwity Paye can do all of those things with the athletic upside that if it can be fine-tuned, you can maybe turn him into a better pass rusher overall. So I agree. I really like that pick. That was a situation of a best player available that filled the need for the Colts.
Annie, one more before I let you go. Which reunion of college teammates do you like the most at the NFL level?
Great question. I like the Tua Jalen Waddle connection in Miami. And I think it because, and you pointed this out the other week when we were chatting, and I thought it was a great point. The Tua left-handed release. It's a different angle. Now, receivers can overcome that. It's not a be-all, end-all. But when you get a guy, Jalen Waddle, who 5'9", you can put him in the slot and you breathe. You blink, he is gone. You give him a step. He's got great hands. You can put him outside Tua if you want. But for that comfort level for Tua, from that angle, guys who can instantly go and you can have him zip off, Tua can get him the ball. I think that combo is going to be great real life. I think it's going to give Tua some early confidence as this is his year. We're talking about Jalen Hurts. This is a prove-it year for Tua. They put everything around him, and the Dolphins have a ton of draft capital still, so they can, if they're not happy, move on from Tua next year. So Jalen Waddle, I think, is going to be a nice safety blanket, and in real-life football, I think it's going to look good. And for PPR and dynasty rookie drafts, Jalen Waddle, to me, is my first wide receiver off the board.
He's Andy McNamara at Andy MC81 on Twitter. Sportsnet, of course, NFL analyst, fantasy sports expert. Also, real quick, we are up there in the Toronto region. Does anybody care as much as I do that Tom Wilson wasn't suspended? Or am I the only one who's like screaming about it?
I was on the air. There was a lot of chatter over what should not be done. Tom Wilson, ultimate heel, comes up, he flexes like what? You know what? I'll tell you this, Josh. People pay as much money to see a guy they hate get beat up as they see for a hero. Tom Wilson, ultimate heel. He's a villain. He's a jerk. But you know what? Who's stopping him right now?
Well, apparently not the NHL because they're not going to suspend him, but they suspended Shane Gostisbehere 2 games.
And the Rangers.
I mean, come on.
And the Rangers guys, they find how about the aggressive tweet from the New York Rangers? Remember right after the quote, horrifying Perro should be. It was, yeah.
And the Rangers got fined $250,000 for a tweet.
I tweeted out that the Rangers would have been better collectively to go into the commissioner's office and throw Gary Bettman down to the ground, and they would have only been fined $5,000.
Right. And if you took his head and smashed it into the ground too.
Yeah, $5,000. You would have saved yourself a lot of cash if you would have just ragdolled Gary Bettman.
Shane Gostisbehere is going to lose $77,000 for being suspended 2 games. For boarding a guy.
Yep.
Tom Wilson assaulted somebody.
Correct.
Bragged about it, and he got fined $5,000.
Flexed on it, and then the next game he fought twice and won both fights. Like that's the ultimate villain. There was no revenge. There was no happy storybook ending. The bad guy won.
Yeah, the bad guy won. It's like Avengers: Infinity Wars. There you go.
Right. So, oh man, I love to hate Tom Wilson. He's yeah. He's growing on me, man.
Andy, always appreciate you jumping on the back and forth. We'll catch up soon, my friend.
Absolutely, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we'll get you my picks for the weekend in just a bit. I am very strong on a UFC pick still. Not changing my mind. No one's changed my mind yet. Also, you can comment 609-403-0973 is the text where we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We can comment on the stream. Just like these random messages I've gotten about cornerbacks. It's supposed to be Stephon Gilmore, not Stephen Gilmore. and Dre Kirkpatrick. James Gatling just dropping random cornerbacks into our conversation here. But fine. That's all right. It's all good. Thanks for watching, James. Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Download it right now for all your Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, and local high school sports coverage only with the 97.3 ESPN mobile app.
Major League Baseball today.
Swing and a ball driven in the air, right field, on its way, gone! Zimmerman has done it again.
Ryan Zimmerman and the Washington Nationals head to the Bronx to face Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees.
Fly ball, well struck right field. Judge back, some more, leaping, and he caught it.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 1 p.m.
Attention, New Jersey. Matt Blatt Nissan needs to replenish their pre-owned inventory. They will buy your vehicle for cash today. You heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan will buy your current vehicle for cash or trade it for top dollar and put zero down payment, pay 0% interest, and get $2,500 off MSRP on every 2021 Nissan Murano in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
All new loaded SV model 2021 Nissan Rogue. Lease just $239 per month with zero security deposit. Plus our fast track checkout. Bring any vehicle and Matt Blatt Nissan will buy it for cash or pay top dollar for any trade in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot or online at mattblattnissan.com. They will be refinanced into new vehicle. With qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on 1667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can be combined. Murano VIN MC 101371. Rogue VIN MW 011224. 36 months, 10,000 miles for your lease. Lease selling price $28,590. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 5/31/21. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
We saved serious cash with our Progressive Home and Auto Bundle and used the money to buy a new boat.
Who's ready to water ski?
This is not a real testimonial. Sure, customers can save big money with Progressive, but not enough for a new boat. They'll probably spend it on rent or gas money or maybe one of those little plastic wading pools for the yard.
Ahoy there!
Is what the captain might say on the toy boat in your wading pool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
For nearly 120 years, we've offered our business lending customers the personal and professional integrity we demand for our own business. Your success is our success. Now, more than ever, it matters where you bank. Your business matters to us.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Learn more at oceanfirst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. Final segment of the week. Live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Matt Blatt Kia, they want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. Also, my appearance here on 97.3 ESPN being brought to my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Don't forget about the same game parlay bets. You can only find them with FanDuel Sportsbook. You can combine player props, game props, money lines, over-unders, whatever you want. You can take a small bet and get an even bigger payout with same game parlays only on FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook or use FanDuel every single day, you should check out NBA same game parlays daily. Same game parlays are just one reason I use FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Of course, our app is simple to use. The always on promotions, same game parlays, all kinds of great features. If you haven't tried FanDuel Sportsbook yet, you have a chance to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. But you got to sign up with my promo code Hennig. That's promo code Hennig. When you sign up, you get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. That means you place a bet, and FanDuel will refund you back in site credit if you don't win. That's promo code Hennig with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. President NJRPA. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Josh Hennig here. Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Of course, we got Yankees and Nationals coming up at the top of the show here on 97.3 ESPN FM. You know, if you want to do a same game parlay with the Yankees and Nationals, you have Kluber versus Scherzer going on today. What's Scherzer's over-under on strikeouts? The over-under is 9.5. That's a nice value right there, plus 132. Let's build a little quick same-game parlay on the Yankees-Nationals game, which is coming up next on 97.3 ESPN. Let's see here. What are the odds for somebody to get a hit? Let's see. Well, DJ LeMahieu's a good hitter. So you combined him with the Scherzer over 9.5 strikeouts. And let's go get one more thing on this. Who else do I think might get a hit today? Let's go someone with the Nationals. Who's pitching? Kluber. So, I mean, Juan Soto's a pretty good hitter. So how about we do this? Same game parlay, Yankees-Nationals game. Scherzer to get over 9.5 strikeouts combined with DJ LeMahieu and Juan Soto both each get at least one hit. That's plus 331 odds. $10 on that gets you $33. A little nice value there on FanDuel Sportsbook same game parlays. My other big bet of the weekend, I always give you some UFC picks each and every weekend. I really like Michelle Watterson. She's at plus 172 now. It's actually going down from plus 180 as it was last night. The bets are evening out the odds, so get on that while you can. She's a former world champion, and Rodriguez hasn't faced the same level of competition that Watterson has. Also, Watterson, I think, is in much better physical condition going into this fight than Rodriguez is. Also, I feel good about Donald Cerrone winning this fight today because Alex Moreno is a last-second add-in opponent, and I generally think that, Cerrone is just so well prepared. He can still beat the mid-level fighters. He may not be able to fight for a championship anymore, but he's still talented enough and savvy enough to beat them. If you combine Cerrone and Watterson together, if you're so inclined, that's plus 320 odds. So there's some UFC picks, same game parlay, all that for you. All right. Coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM, for those listening on the radio, we have Yankees versus Nationals coming up at the top of the hour. Sixers versus Pistons tonight. The magic number is 3. The Sixers need to win 3 more games to lock up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They play the Pistons tonight. Tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN, Billy Schwein in the locker room, 10 a.m. to noon. And then we have the Celtics in the Heat. NBA coverage on ESPN radio. Coverage begins at 12:30 p.m. right here in the Sunday Baseball, right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Phillies, Braves, 6 p.m. Look up real quick. Who are the Phillies pitching matchups for the rest of this weekend? What can we look forward to? Let's see here. Today it's Velasquez versus Anderson. I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies lose this weekend. But tomorrow, you have Aaron Nola. You got your ace on the mound versus Huascar and Noah. Noah didn't hit a home run the other day. So, something to watch out for. Interesting pitching matchups. Nola, Sunday Baseball, good deal. Right here on 97.3 ESPN. I am at Josh Hennig on Twitter, of course. You can follow me. Check out all my writing over at 973ESPN.com. My latest about Kenneth Gainwell, the Eagles draft prospect. My thoughts on the NFL offseason situation for the Eagles. Of course, Kerryon Johnson being signed. Joel Embiid, all NBA first team. Check it all out on 973ESPN.com, the 973 ESPN mobile app.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Trying to make healthy choices in your life is easier when you do it with your partner. First, plan meals together, go grocery shopping, and try cooking together. Vow to